All right. Seems like everybody's coming in now from the waiting room. I hope it wasn't cold in the waiting room. Seems to always be. Um, all right. Want to first of all welcome everybody. We do have it set to where we can't see everybody who is on the call just for privacy purposes. So there may be some additional folks coming on here as we're getting going. But I wanted to take a couple of minutes and just thank everybody for joining us and welcome to the webinar, for lack of a better word. You'll see somebody here next to me that you may not recognize at least the face, but the name you may. So I want to introduce Greg Cobb. Greg has been working with our team for probably about 2 years now, a year and a half maybe. He assists our team with operations, client service. You may have gotten emails, you may have gotten calls, you may have gotten e-signatures from him. If so, now you got a face to put with the name. Greg has been in the financial services industry for 14 years, but I would not even dare to say I'm confident in saying hospitality is one of his passions. And Greg has a great story. He can tell most of it, but Greg was born in Southeast Asia. That seemed to spark a love of travel, and seems like he married someone who shares that passion. And he's married to Ellen. They have a son named Leo. Greg has traveled to 40 countries around the world and just has a great bit of experience that we all can learn from. Our team originally saw this presentation at our advisor conference back in January and really just thought there was information in here that more people ought to know. I can tell you that within 24 hours of seeing the presentation, I had already gone and signed up for an American Express card and got 60,000 miles just for doing it. And, just little things like that that I would never even think about if Greg hadn't have turned us on to that. So, um, as we seem to be about full now, I'm going to turn it over to Greg. We're going to hang on here, of course, and watch the presentation. We'll be around at the end for questions, and if anybody has something they want to ask in the meantime, they're welcome to send through chat or whatever. Lastly, we are recording this, so we'll make that available really for people if they want to send it out to friends or family or anything else like that. They are welcome to do it. So again, without further ado, I want to welcome Greg Cobb, and hopefully everybody enjoys this and gets some valuable information out of it.
Awesome. Justin, thank you so much. I appreciate the introduction. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, and let's get it pulled up here. Bear with me just a moment and share. And hopefully everyone can see that. Oh, perfect. Yes, participants can see my application. All right, fantastic. So today we are going to talk about going to Europe for $25. As Justin mentioned, I presented this at our annual retreat back in January, had a lot of positive responses from advisors and others alike. And so he was gracious enough to allow me to present it to the Linea family. So appreciate you guys being here. And for those that are watching afterwards, again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Just to piggyback off of what Justin said, so I've been in finance for 14 plus years, grew up in Southeast Asia. The countries that I've visited is now up to 42 different countries. And just I love travel. And the thing that I love most about travel is that I get to share it with other people. So what I'd like to do real quick is just show you a few pictures of some of my most memorable trips that I've taken. On the left-hand side here, you can see my father and I. This is in downtown Tokyo. We did a short excursion in which you could rent go-karts and dress up like Mario characters. Absolutely, probably my most favorite memory that I have with my father. All of these trips that I'm showing you, I was able to do on points and miles, which we will get into a little bit later in the presentation. This middle one here, this is in Iceland. So this is, my wife and I went to Iceland back in October of 2019. This is us snorkeling. And yes, it was snowing outside. We were both wearing wetsuits, but this was an awesome experience. If you haven't been to Iceland, you should definitely put that on your bucket list. Far right-hand side, this is in Croatia, in Dubrovnik and Old Port. And in this picture here, my wife is actually 6 months pregnant with Leo, who is now just over 2 years old. But our love for travel extended into her second trimester of pregnancy. Of course, we stayed closer to home once she hit the third one. Couple more here. On the left-hand side, that's my son Leo. It may look like he's high up in the air. He's totally safe. Mom was right there coaching me, making sure that's okay. This is in Nice, France, about a year ago. This is down on the beach. We went there in September. This middle one, this is in Turkey, the southern part of Turkey, in Cappadocia, in a small town called Goreme. So this is where you see a lot of the hot air balloon that take place that you may see on social media. This is kind of the hub of where you can go and do that. And then most recently, just last year, we went to France, also went to Switzerland. We did a glacial hike in Chamonix, and we did just over 30,000 steps that day. So really, really earned all the food that we ate. And as you can see, my son Leo there is strapped to the front of me. And what a wonderful time we had. All right, so today we are going to be talking about how to travel for free or really at a highly discounted rate. Now, the title of this session is Go to Europe for $25. How many of you were skeptical after reading this description? I would imagine probably some, if not all of you. And you would be right in thinking, that's insane. How is that possible? After all, a lunch for two plus tax and tip is well over $25. And so that's the question that we're going to be exploring today. And honestly, the way to travel for free and for significantly less money out of pocket is the answer to that is really just what sits in your back pocket. And what I mean by that is credit cards. People have a credit card on their phone, they have it on their watch, they have it in their back pocket. And that is that is the tool that is used to travel for free or at a highly discounted rate. So what we're going to do real quick is we are going to venture to a place many agree and call paradise. So as you can see here, this is a quick screen grab here of we are looking at India, Sri Lanka. We're going to go to the Maldives. So this is off the coast of Sri Lanka in India. And we are going to travel to a picturesque setting, pristine beaches. And this place right here, this is called the Alila Resort in the Maldives. This is a 5-star luxury hotel. The high season is from November to April. The smallest place accommodation that they have there is a beach villa that is 22,000 square feet, 2,200 square feet. And what we're going to take a look at is we're going to see what it costs to stay here for 1 week. This is typically on a bucket list for a lot of people. And so I threw this in here as an example. I'll give you a second to guess. What do people think it would cost to stay at this luxury resort for 1 week? This is a screen grab directly from the website. If you can see, it's a beach villa from Sunday, January 12th, 2025 to Sunday, January 19th, 2025 for 2 guests, $24,200.40. If I can be honest, that is more than I paid for my last car. And this is an insane amount of money to stay here for 1 week. Now, would you believe me if I told you that you could actually stay here for free? And again, you probably wouldn't believe me, but I love to show you how. I'm going to show you at the end, actually. All right, so during this presentation, we are going to cover 3 topics. The first one is, how do I earn points and miles? What are points and miles? What are the different types of credit cards? Which one is right for me? And then the most exciting thing is, what are some examples of real life point and mileage redemption? So we'll start with the first one here, points and miles. How do I earn them? Typically speaking, it would be via travel. In the past, if you wanted to earn miles with Delta, you had to hop on one of their flights. If you wanted to earn points with Hilton, you had to stay at one of their hotels. Well, now what you can do is you don't even have to leave the couch and you can earn points and miles. And the way that you can do that is via credit cards. And the way that you can do that is through everyday purchases, paying your bills. Another way is what's called category multipliers. And what I mean by this is, depending on the type of credit card that you use, you can have anywhere from 1 point per dollar up to 15 points per dollar that you spend, depending on what you spend your money on. Another one is what's called a sign-up bonus. And so depending on the card, this can be anywhere from 20,000 miles or points all the way up to 150,000 miles or points. And the way that that works is the credit card companies, to entice consumers to apply for their credit card, they will say, hey, we will give you X amount of points if you spend a certain amount of money within a certain amount of time. So let's take a quick look at some of the credit card subs, which is shortened for sign-up bonuses. Now, there are some elevated offers out there right now, but this is what you can generally expect to be available to the general public. So in the first one here, we have the Chase Sapphire Preferred Credit Card. As you can see, it offers 60,000 bonus points after you spend $4,000 on purchases within the first 3 months from account opening. This does come with a $95 annual fee. Second one, and there's quite a number out there, but I'm just choosing just a few as an example. Second one here, this is the American Express Gold Card. It's a charge card. The elevated offer at the time that I pulled this was a 75,000 point/mile bonus after you spend $6,000 within the first 6 months. So a little bit higher spend, but they give you an additional 3 months to hit that threshold. Now, the annual fee on this is $250, so more than double what the previous one was. And then the third example, this is the Capital One Venture X. So this one is the 75,000 bonus after you spend $4,000 within the first 3 months. And the annual fee on this is $395. Now, I'm sure you're starting to see a trend there with that annual fee. The higher the bonus, it seems the higher the annual fee that comes with it. But we'll get into that a little bit later on in the presentation. Another way that you can earn points and miles is through a shopping portal. Now, some of you may be familiar with this, but for those of you that don't know what a shopping portal is, it's simply a website that rewards shoppers with bonus miles, points, or cash back for making online purchases through hundreds of different merchants. And I'd like to show you a couple examples of some of the things that I have purchased through a portal, shopping portal. So last year, I replaced my Apple computer. I had the same one for 9 years, so it was time for an upgrade. And you'll notice on that first line item, apple.com, the amount $17.09. You'll find on electronics, there's rarely ever a large multiplier. For this one, I got 2 points per dollar that I spent, so $34.18. I also bought an iRobot vacuum that I'd been saving up for quite a while, and then also a Dyson vacuum as well. So you'll notice the points that correspond with those amounts. That 475 for the 9500, you're looking at 20 or 15 multiplier on that, and then the Dyson 15 or 20 multiplier on that. So for just these three purchases that I planned for in advance, just shy of 25,000 points. Now, you may be thinking, okay, great, Greg, what can we do with 25,000 points? That doesn't really mean much to me. So, but we're going to take a look at some real life examples of redemptions, and you'll be able to see with those points, you can actually get across the pond to London with next to no money out of pocket. All right, so we are going to take a quick dive into the next section, credit cards. Now, before we do this, we have to go over the golden rule. And the golden rule is this. You should always, always, always pay your credit card bill in full. And the reason for that is because the average interest rate on a credit card across all of them that are out there as of January of this year is 24.59%. That is a substantial amount. If you carried $10,000 worth in credit card debt evenly throughout the year, you're paying close to $2,500 in interest that's going to the bank, which heavily negates the benefits that you would receive from using a credit card if you have to carry a balance. All right, so we're going to talk about the different types of credit cards. Generally speaking, you're going to see there's probably just a near unlimited amount of credit cards that are out on the market, but typically you're going to see them fall into three different categories. The first one's going to be cashback. The second one's going to be co-branded, and the third one is going to be what's considered flexible. So everyone's familiar with the cashback. You know, you would get anywhere from 1% up to 5%, depending on what you spend your money on. Cashback as a statement, or you can transfer it directly to your checking or savings account. A co-branded credit card is going to be where a company has partnered specifically with a credit card company, and every dollar that you spend on there equates to either a point or a mile that goes directly into your frequent flyer account or your rewards program with a hotel. So for example, American Express has partnered with Delta. And so if you swipe your card, you get 10 Delta miles, it goes over into your Delta SkyMiles account. Same thing with Hilton. When you get those points, it is transferred directly into your Hilton rewards program. Now, the good and bad thing, well, maybe not bad, but the things to consider there is with co-branded credit cards, if you are loyal to one program, that's an easy way to rack up points and miles very, very quickly. But the other side of that is if you need to redeem your points or miles, and you're maybe in a place that doesn't have a Hilton, well, you're kind of out of luck. You're not able to really stay in a place that for a property that doesn't exist. And so the third, and what I think is the most valuable and important, is going to be the flexible credit card. Now, what do I mean by that? So credit cards with flexible rewards can be broken down into four different programs. First one is the Chase Ultimate Rewards. Second one is the American Express Membership Rewards. Third one is the thank you points from Citibank. And the fourth one is from Capital One. Now, at the bottom there, you'll be able to see I have listed different transfer partners. So Chase has 14 transfer partners. American Express has 20 transfer partners. Citibank has 17 transfer partners. And Capital One has 18 transfer partners. Now, what do I mean by transfer partners? Well, let's take a quick peek here. What I mean by that is when we look at Chase, and there's 14 different transfer partners, when you have a certain amount of points with Chase, if you have 10,000 points in your Chase Ultimate Rewards account, you essentially have 10,000 points with Aer Lingus, with Air France, with JetBlue, with Marriott, with the World of Hyatt, and the same thing with American Express, Citibank, and Capital One. by having the option to redeem your points or your miles across multiple places allows you the most flexibility. And that's what you want. You want to have the ability to be flexible with your redemptions, because if you can't stay in a Hilton, you can stay in a Hyatt or you can stay in a Marriott. And so the flexible currencies is my most favorite credit cards that I use on a daily basis. Now, underneath those transfer partners, you'll see the word transfer bonus. And what a transfer bonus is throughout the year, the rewards programs, they will offer bonuses or incentives to transfer your point from Chase, from American Express, over to a specific transfer partner. To give you an example, there is a airline called Virgin Atlantic, and Chase Ultimate Rewards will say, hey, we're running a special for the next month. For every point that you transfer to Virgin Atlantic, we're going to give you a 30% bonus. So if you had 100,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points and you transfer them during a transfer bonus to Virgin Atlantic, your 100,000 now turns into 130,000. And we'll actually use that as an example later on when we take a look at some of the options of going to Europe for less than $25. All right, now, a couple things to consider when we're talking about credit cards. It's really important to figure out which one is right for me, which one is right for you. Couple things to consider. The biggest one is going to be your credit score. That determines a lot of how much you get approved for, if you get approved for it or not. Second thing is your monthly spend. Some of these items have, some of these credit cards have really high spend requirements. And so if you only have $500 a month that you can put on your credit card, you may want to look for a different credit card to get a sign-up bonus. Third thing is your spend category. Where are you spending most of your money? A lot of these credit cards have multiplier categories where, like for the American Express Gold Card, if you go out to eat, if you go to the grocery store, you get 4 points for every dollar that you spend. So if you're eating out a lot, or if you're going to the grocery store a lot, then that would be a contender that you would want to consider to get the biggest bang for your buck, the best return. Fourth one is your preference: cashback, points, or miles. My brother-in-law prefers cashback, and the reason why is because he hates to travel. He is a homebody. He loves to stay close to home. And so to get points and miles, it doesn't really make sense for him because he doesn't like to travel. Whereas for myself, cash back doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me. And we'll be able to take a look and see in some of the later examples where you can see where I can leverage miles and points to get a much greater return. And the fifth thing to consider is the annual fee and the ability to offset it. For a lot of people, when they see a high annual fee, it automatically puts them off. And they're like, ooh, I don't want to do that. You know, I don't want to pay just to have the card. But a lot of these credit cards, they come with credits and other benefits that will easily offset that. And we can go into some detail with that later on. All right, so here is the fun. We're going to take a look at flights to Europe for under $25. All right, this example I pulled less than 30 minutes ago. I threw this in at the last moment here just so you could see something that's current. Now this right here, this is Virgin Atlantic. Now remember I told you before, Virgin Atlantic offers transfer bonuses from time to time. And if you look and see, this is from Atlanta to Munich in the second week of September. It's 30,000 points, $5.60 in fees and taxes. Now, if you think about it, if you transferred your miles during that 30% transfer bonus period, then you would only be paying, I want to say it's 27,000 points. You wouldn't be paying the full 30 on there. So that's more points that you can keep in your pocket to save for a future trip. Another example, going from Atlanta, let's head over to Greece. We're going to fly into Athens nonstop. Again, using Virgin Atlantic. They give the best value, which is why most of my examples fall under these. But you'll notice it's booked through Virgin Atlantic. But in the bottom left-hand screen, you can see that it says operated by Delta Airlines. And that's because Virgin Atlantic has an agreement with Delta Airlines that you can book through Virgin Atlantic, but you can fly on Delta. All right, this next one here, this is from Atlanta. Let's head over to Venice. Let's go to Italy. This is in the third week of September. It's a nonstop flight. Again, you'll notice it's operated by Delta Airlines, but it's booked through Virgin Atlantic. 30,000 points, 30,000 miles. Points and miles are used interchangeably in conversation. Again, $5.60 one way. Now, for those of you, this has been all in economy. For those of you that want to travel a bit more comfortably, I pulled a recent redemption example. This next one right here, this is from Atlanta to Frankfurt. For those of you that have ever traveled, flown on Lufthansa, they are a wonderful airline. You'll notice in the top right-hand corner, there is an option for business for 63,000 miles. There's an option for economy for 30,000 miles. Now, you'll notice the fees and taxes are $27.80, so a little bit above the $25 threshold. However, if you pulled the cash value of that ticket, that is the same flight, just shy of $7,000. That's a lot of money. I certainly wouldn't be able to afford that, nor if I could, would I want to spend that. However, for those of us that would like to still fly business without having to pay $7,000 to do so, we could redeem 63,000 miles and taxes and fees of $27.80. Now, these are all hypotheticals. Well, actually, these are ones that I pulled today, but I haven't actually flown these. So what we're going to take a look at now is ones that are actually true and have happened in the past. So this is something that I have done for other advisors. I work with other advisors outside of Linea. And so this is for one of my other advisors that I work with. He came to me and he said, "Hey, Greg, I want to take my wife to New York. Just a quick 2 to 3 day getaway. We would love nonstop round trip flights up there. We want to stay in a hotel, a luxury hotel if possible, and spend the least amount of money." Now, their dates weren't very flexible because they were going up there for a concert. I think it was a farewell tour. Can't remember who it was that was performing, but he said, "We have to do it on these days." So what I did is I hit the books, went in and looked to see, okay, flights from Atlanta into LaGuardia, it's about $300 per person round trip. 2 night stay in a hotel, $4,200, just over that. You're looking at just shy of $5,000 for a 2 to 3 night stay. Now, on the left-hand side here, the Park Hyatt New York, that's what I was looking at. Park Hyatt is a luxury property of the Hyatt portfolio. And you can see this is for February of last year, staying in a suite. For those of you that have traveled to New York, you know, space is quite a luxury to have there. A lot of the other rooms are quite small. So for a suite, you're going to pay a substantial amount. Now, with this advisor, I've been working with him for some time. And so he already had a stash of points that we were able to pull from. So what I did is I pulled 50,000 miles from his American Express account. And you'll notice here on the bottom left-hand side, 2 round trip tickets, $22.40. On the right-hand side, you'll notice a 2 night stay in the hotel is 140,000 points. Now, Chase is a transfer partner with Hyatt. Excuse me, Hyatt is a transfer partner with Chase. And so we transferred over 140,000 points from Chase over to Hyatt. And when you redeem points with Hyatt, you pay 0 in taxes and fees, which is awesome. So for this trip, for the 2 to 3 day weekend that they had there, it would have come out of pocket just under $5,000. He ended up only spending $22.40 for flights and accommodation. That's a huge win in my book. Second example, had an advisor that wanted to go to London during Christmas time. So he came to me, he said, "Hey, we're looking at nonstop round trip flights. We'd love to spend a full 7 days in England. looking at a partial hotel accommodation. His wife had chosen an Airbnb that she really wanted to stay in. And they always say, and I want to spend the least amount of money. Don't we all? That's why we're here. So hit the books, went in, pulled it up. Now on the left-hand side, top left-hand corner, 4 round-trip tickets from Atlanta to London Heathrow, $2,300 per person. The reason why that's so high is because it was close to Christmas time. And so you're going to pay a premium when you get close to those holidays. They wanted to be central downtown London or close to the tube. And so one of the places that I found for them is called the Hyatt Regency London Churchill. It was right next to one of the stops on the northeast side of Hyde Park, I believe. And so the total cash price, if we were to pay cash out of pocket for their time there, we're looking at $12,590. Again, that is a substantial amount. But what we were able to do, what I was able to do for him instead, was that we looked at 71,000 Delta miles and only $212.27 in taxes and fees. Now, this is per person. Now, for the Hyatt room, it was $565 a night or 25,000 points per room per night. So in total miles, we transferred 284,000 miles from his American Express and then used 150,000 points. Total money out of pocket, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner there, $212.27 per person. It ended up being $849.08. So $12,590 for cash or $849.08 with the help of points and miles. Now, again, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. So we talked about going for completely free or at a highly discounted rate. I think most people would agree that you're paying, that's a 90+% discount on that option. All right, the last item right here, this is going to be example number 3. So this is actually that I did for my family. That picture that I showed you earlier of my son, Leo, this is when we went to Nice. We actually went over to Monaco as well for a few days. We were looking at nonstop round-trip flights. We had booked an Airbnb, so we didn't really need to do anything there. But taking a look at the round-trip tickets, 3 round-trip tickets would have been $5,100 out of pocket. It's about $1,700 per person round trip. Now, this is where we use my transfer bonus. There was a 30% transfer bonus going on at the time for Virgin Atlantic. And so I only had to transfer over 140,000 points for those 3 round trip tickets and paid $185.85 in taxes and fees out of pocket, which is a far cry from $5,100. So a lot of people look at us and they say, how are you able to afford traveling? This is a great example of how we're able to do that. All right, now jumping back into the first example that we had, looking at the Maldives. Again, this is here. $24,200.40 for 1 week at this luxury hotel located out in the Maldives. Now, I told you that we could get this for you for absolutely 0 money out of pocket. And this is how we're going to do it. Oops. All right, so here is a quick example. We are going to use real life numbers because that makes the most sense. Now, quick little tidbit, the world of Hyatt. Staying at a Hyatt property is one of the most valuable programs. And the reason why is because they have what's called a static redemption, which means that based off of the tier of the hotel that you're staying at, they have a fixed amount for the redemption. Every other hotel has what's called a dynamic pricing, in which the amount of points that you redeem is tied to the cash value that you would pay if you paid in cash for the room. So you'll notice on the left-hand side where it says pay my way, it shows $2,700 a night or 35,000 points per person. So we need a total of 245,000 points to stay at this location. So what I did was I actually used the actual monthly expenses of a client. I made the assumption that flights will be paid out of pocket. And the breakdown here is that this client owns a small construction business with roughly about $3,500 in monthly bills. He also has personal monthly bills of roughly $2,300 for his family of four. And I know he has a credit score of 740 plus and that he pays his balance in full. Again, we want to always make sure that we're minding that golden rule. Now, the way that we get there is through sign-up bonuses. So previously we talked about when you sign up for a credit card, the way that lenders entice people to do so is because they offer sign-up bonuses. Now, for this one specifically, at the time there was a $100,000 point sign-up bonus for a Chase business card if you spend $8,000 within the first 3 months. Now, I believe there's actually an elevated offer out there right now that just came to fruition, I think, earlier this week. I think it's at 120,000 points if you spend 8,000. But for this example, we're just going to assume what the general availability is of the 100,000. So spend $8,000 within the first 3 months, you get 100,000 points. Well, when we take a look at his monthly bills of 3,500, he's going to easily hit that within 3 months. So let's say there weren't any multipliers whatsoever. And so with that 100,000 point sign-up bonus, he's going to essentially have 108,000 points because he spent $8,000 to meet that. And let's just assume 1 point per dollar that he spent. Typically, you're going to see multipliers on there, but we're just going to use this for simplicity's sake. Now, he also has his personal bills. And so he would sign up for the Chase Sapphire Preferred, what we looked at previously, the one that had the 60,000 bonus sign up once you spend $4,000 within the first 3 months. And so he's going to easily hit that by the second month. Well, what he can now do is he has 64,000 points on his side for the personal. He has 108,000 on his business side. What he can do is he can refer his wife for the same card that he has. He gets a 15,000 point referral bonus, and the bills are then switched over to the wife's credit card. And again, within 2 months, they hit that 4,000 spend threshold. Now, for those of you that are keeping track, that comes up to 251,000 points total. Now, the amount of points that we needed to stay at the Maldives was only 245,000. And one of the biggest things to keep in mind is that they didn't go out and buy things that they didn't need. All they did is they simply changed the way that they paid for their existing expenses. And that's what it's all about. It's about figuring out where you spend your money, how you spend your money, how you pay your bills, and then looking to see if there's a credit card that can easily plug in to pay for those items, and then you pay off the statement balance every month. So they essentially started from scratch with nothing. And if they wanted to redeem all those points, they would be getting just shy of, I think it was $24,000 of the ability to stay at that hotel in the Maldives. All right, so quick little wrap up. We talked about points and miles, how to earn them, how to redeem them. We talked about credit cards, the way that you can earn points and miles through sign-up bonuses, through transfer offers. We looked at real-life redemptions of what you can do, what I've booked for other advisors, and also other options that are out there, both in economy and also business as well. And now what? What do we do with this information? Well, really, that's up to you. One of the things that I love about traveling is that I get to share it with other people, especially when you can do it at a highly discounted rate. So the now what is, you ask yourself, is this something that I want to take advantage of? Or is this something that makes sense for me and my household in the way that I pay my bills? And more often than not, the answer is going to be yes, to an extent. So thank you for being here with me today. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys learned a little bit about the options that are out there. I've been doing this for over 7 years, and that's how I've been able to visit so many countries. I typically do uh, 3 to 4 trips a year. My next trip, I am actually going to Belgium in September. And so really looking forward to that. And again, it is by using my points and miles that I'm able to do that. So thank you for being here today. Justin, did we have any questions in the chat or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And thank you for going through that. I just saw this in January, but upon hearing it again, remembered a few things that I need to be doing. But yeah, we had a question just about opening and closing credit cards regularly and it affecting credit scores.
Mhm.
I've heard the answer there before, but probably best coming from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's important there's a lot of factors that go into opening a credit card. There are certainly people out there that they earn, churn, and burn. So they will open up a credit card, they will hit that sign up bonus, they'll keep it open for a year because if you don't, then they will take back the points and miles that you earned, and then they'll close it out. Now, typically, as you know, when you have a inquiry on your credit, it stays on there for 2 years. 10% of your credit score, the FICO score model that's used, 10% of it is new account inquiries. And then I want to say 20 to 30% is available credit. So there are a lot of people that treat this like a hobby in which they just open new cards every single year. They hit that 1 year mark and then they close it out and then they're on to the next one. Generally speaking, as long as you don't carry a high amount of debt and you don't have a massive amount of inquiries, and what I mean by massive, I mean probably 6 to 8, more than 6 to 8 inquiries within a 2 year period, you're going to see very minimal impact to your credit score.
Okay. Thank you. We have another one, and I actually don't know this, so I'm curious. Do points miles expire, and does that have to be tracked?
Ooh, that's a great question. Okay. So, depending on the rewards program, if you are going the flexible currency route, the flexible rewards route, as long as the card is active, they are not going to expire. Typically, if there is inactivity, if you don't use that card for at least 3 years, then they may say, hey, we're considering closing this out because there's been no activity for 3 years. But it wouldn't make sense to keep a card if you're not going to be using it for the most part. So within those flexible currencies, they're not going to expire. But if you transfer them over to, say, Qantas Airlines, which is based out of Australia, they will have, I think it's 24 months. If you don't have any activity within 24 months, then yes, they will take all of your points and miles away. So really, you only want to transfer your points and miles when you have a specific redemption in mind. So they should go from your Chase credit card account to Qantas to then be redeemed for a flight. So it should go, your Qantas frequent flyer account should go to 100,000 miles, and then it should go back to down to zero. And that's how it works and how you get around not having to worry about, oh, I transferred these miles over here. They might expire because I haven't had any activity. And again, depending on the type of program, some will allow you to transfer 1,000 miles, and that resets the clock for another 2 years. So if you got into a situation where you booked a flight and it got canceled and you weren't able to do anything, and now you have these miles that are just sitting there, that's happened to me before, then you can always just transfer 1,000 miles over and that resets the clock so you don't have to worry about it. You push it out a little bit further until you're able to use it.
Good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Um, any other questions? Feel free to raise your hand or type in a question. So I'll keep an eye on that. Otherwise, Again, we are recording this and we'll be making it available via our newsletter. We'll have a link there. Feel free if anybody wants the link personally, we can send that to you. But Greg, once again, just great information. And really, these are opportunities most of us have been just foregoing for many, many years. I know I fall into that category, and a lot of travel we could have done, with very little cost had I been paying more attention to this stuff. So just good information, and we appreciate you being willing to come on and share it with some of our friends and clients.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I appreciate the opportunity. I love talking about travel. So if there's any further questions or if you want just a kind of one-off or one-on-one thing, I'd be more than happy to spend 5 or 10 minutes with you on a quick phone call to give you, some not recommendations, but just some education about things that you can do and the options that are out there that are more specific to your situation. I would love the opportunity to do that.
Excellent. We appreciate that. Well, it looks like everybody's ready for dinner. But if we get some questions and need your help, we'll certainly let you know. So we appreciate you being here. We appreciate everybody who hopped on. Thank you to Ann for putting this together, and we will talk to all of you very soon.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks.